Dear heads on the wall, dear heads on the wall, always watching you. Hey! Dear heads on the wall, dear heads on the wall, always watching you. Dear hunter shot Bambi, Bambi took the fall, dear heads on the wall, always watching you. Yeah. You're not paranoid if they're out to get you. You're not paranoid if they're out to get you.
Today is March the 7th, and we're out in the same area we were last week. You think conditions can't get any weirder. We've had rain during the week, and up here apparently it's been cold enough to freeze, but as the temperature comes up today and you hear all the little plinking sounds, all the ice is melting and coming off the trees. So it's not actually raining, it's raining ice bits. I don't know if that's catching that, but you can see it's like coming up to like 40 degrees, so all the ice that was all over the trees was it's all coming down. I'm surprised they don't have power lines down, but that's a good thing. Anyway, it's gonna be one of those days. The conditions are what they are. The snow is still deep and cold and wet. A couple of pointers on that, some things to talk about. But let's get moving and do what we can under these weird conditions. It's another weird day. It's been a weird winter, but anyway. A lot of the commentary in this video is going to be weather related, just because it's going to be kind of a stop and start video, because the footing in the snow is uneven, so I kind of have to pay attention to actually walking, because last week I actually ended up on my backside because footing is not, you kind of have to pay attention to it because of the weird nature of the conditions here. I'm going to be happy when this is all gone for obvious reasons, because it is curtailing a lot of effort, and no matter where you go in here, it is going to be a pain in the ass walking around. Today you have the added oddity of the ice showers until all the ice comes down from the trees, and the uneven, wet, heavy snow. One tip I'd give you if you're stupid like me and come out into these conditions, if you have hunter's pants like I do, and they have like a little stirrup thing at the bottom, a lot of them do, wrap that around your boot, because this snow is wet and heavy, but wet. Keeping the snow out of your boots keeps the snow away from your socks and keeps your feet from getting wet, which is, even though it's like, I don't know, the mean temperature up here right now is about 35. It's not frigidly cold, but it's not exactly balmy either, so cold, wet socks in that nature is not a fun thing, if anything else. And that also spills into having your socks be made of something that's not gonna, like cotton socks that are wet. Why did you buy cotton? It's like the worst thing for hiking. They don't moisturize and demoisturize well. Wool, and even better yet, smart wool is the way to go. More expensive, but you buy for longevity. The other thing I'm going to say, I'm not going to delve into politics in this video beyond this one point, and that is to make a point that during the week I did break a rule of mine where I don't delve into politics on Facebook for obvious reasons. But with the advent of certain current events, I had to try to rattle off my two-bit opinion, and a person, needless to say, from the other point of view, disagreed, but he did so politely enough that it reminds me to make the note, you know, as much as the nature of political discourse in the U.S. right now, as I get hit in the mouth with a freaking piece of ice, is basically two groups of little kids. I'm going to actually put my hood up to get, because I just got a bunch of that down my back. A bunch of little kids get basically name calling, which is sad. People actually do have this trick they have where they agree to disagree, and that's what we did. And no long spelling argument that became a trolling session for either one of us, because it doesn't accomplish anything. So they have their opinion. I have my own set of mixed feelings about the Iran war. I guess I am going to delve into this. And it's not right or left wing in my opinion. The reality is, number one, that Iran was never going to be a buddy of the U.S. Reality number two, this war, in my honest opinion, should be an Israeli problem. And I'm probably going to get flack from this from somebody of the Jewish faith, but I'm sorry, we don't know Israel shit. And frankly, I don't consider them anything more than an ally of convenience when it suits them. And yeah, I said that. Third reality, they were not, like it or not, an imminent threat to the U.S. And you're naive to think that this has nothing to do with a distraction from the Epstein files. I guess that is my left-wing piece of this. Whenever the Republicans have a scandal, they start a war because they're good. They either talk about aliens or they start a war because it's a wonderful distraction from the American people's limited attention span, for better or for worse. So how many Iranian schmucks that are going about their day-to-day business, despite the fact they're not our favorite country, go about their day and die because a certain person wants us to forget about the Epstein files? There are people on the overpass that I drive by every day on the highway that prove otherwise. It's not going anywhere. But end of rant. It's a mixed bag for me. I don't think Iran was ever going to be anything friendly to the U.S. The next day in Austin, Texas, you had some radicalized loon who was wearing property of Allah hoodies and shooting up a bar, clearly motivated by ways of Islamic considerations. And yeah, it's probably not the last one, unfortunately, because these people do live in the U.S. among us. Some are radical, some are not. So if you are part of the Islamic community in the U.S., you might want to rein in the radical elements to save everybody any undue grief, because it's just going to come back. In the current ICE-friendly administration, it's only going to come back and bite you in the ass. That's my advice. That's the end of my rant. Some of it's right-wing, some of it's left-wing, and some of it's in the middle. Just a term called realpolitik that sees it for what it is. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to get moving. I'm also going to put up my hood because I have more than a few drips of ice-cold water going down my back right now. And again, stop and start because I got to kind of watch my footing in here and not fall on my ass every 10 feet. It's going to get old. Anyway, we'll be back in a bit. Find as I walk through the loveliness of this, the tree has suds forming on it. That's interesting. Weird, if you will. Not sure why, but it has little bubble formations on it. And I also will just quietly comment that I also have learned the lesson of putting my sidearm into my upper pocket because I briefly had a scare where it wasn't with me, and that's not good. So in my other pants, which are more tactical pants with a tighter hip pocket, it's in there good and snug. In here it was not so much, so you wear it on your hip pocket, your your belt line pocket instead so you don't lose it. Luckily, it did not fall into the wrong hands or something like that, but that's a life lesson. Just to give you the aside, if that happens, now you have to go and talk to the good people of law enforcement to report it missing. And they may or may not, just for the people that may not. If the cop is sympathetic to the two-way, he may just let you off with a warning, but they can conceivably hit you with a $35 fine. Not a lot of money, but for improper concealed carry at that point, because Connecticut is, after all, a blue state, and not sure how that would play out. Actually, it's a purple state, because when you get into the outer boundaries that are not in one of the four major cities, that being Waterbury or New Haven, Hartford, or Bridgeport, little towns get a lot more red versus the very blue cities that are there. But yeah, I was briefly terrified that I had lost that, because that's something you don't lose under any circumstances whatsoever. That's an absolute, you don't. So for the rest of the day, I'm going to be looking down to make sure the little black clip is on my pocket, to make sure that's where I want it to be. Not, you can't lose that. I just can't emphasize that enough. Anyway, life lesson learned. And we're going to make our way to the pond. I'm going to try to stick to my tracks from last week, mainly just because you can gauge how deep the snow is, because I'm finding as you go into various terrain, aside from the fact you have logs hiding under there that can trip you up, the depth varies. One step will be up to your ankle, the next one's up to your thigh, all because of a slight dip in the hill. And that's what I have for now. Eventually, when all this, it does look right now like a lot of the ice has already fallen off, but you have the initial ice shower. Eventually that will let up. There's only so much ice up on there, but they've had they had rain during the week, and up here it's probably cold enough at night that froze everything. I had the idea of doing a night drive through, kind of like a perimeter sweep, but honestly, more than likely it would have been a skating rink on the roads up here, so probably for the better I didn't choose to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break, get down there to the water line. I have seen moose tracks today. And I know there's one other hunter out here with me, so I know that he's out here. I don't know that he's hunting anything today. There's nothing really in season, but he's probably pre-scouting for the coming season, which opens up in, I want to say in next month. At some point in April it opens up, I think, if I remember right. There's a slight difference in the weeks where hunting season opens up. Connecticut versus Vermont versus New Hampshire and all that. But anyway, I'm going to take a break and get down closer to there. I can all see where I wiped out of my ass, and apparently that is where the stream is. I walked over that without realizing. Or there's a puddle there. And I'm going to shut up for now, and we'll be back in a little bit. Mentioned moose tracks before, and here's some right here. You probably didn't enjoy walking through here, because solidly up to my knee. It had been manageable up until about, well, right here, because then all of a sudden I'm walking up now. It's, and then we're not as deep, but I wanted to get a look. And it looks as though he looped around and came in that way, because the other set of tracks are over that way, and I have to bend weird because you can't really maneuver your feet when you're in this very wet snow. I mean, my boots are supposedly waterproof, but this stuff is wet and heavy, and keyword being wet, it's soaking in. So if I walk over this way, can I actually get to like a standable level of snow again? That's a little better. What a difference a day makes. Yeah, just looking over there by that tree, it doesn't look as bad. You walk through that one step, though. It is amazing the variability of the snow depth in here. One step Like now we're heading back to deeper country, and then you get over here by the tree. It's going to probably be pretty shallow, and I can walk over there and see the tracks. But every step has to be kind of like slow and tentative, which makes the wet factor a little worse. And every second now I'm looking down to make sure the little black clip is on my pocket, so I don't have to go looking for something again. The good thing on a day like today, though, it's a black object in the middle of all this white, so finding it wasn't that hard. It's just a matter of hoping to God somebody doesn't come through and find it for you, and then prove that they have a new thing for their, or God forbid it's somebody without a permit who's just going to keep it and not say anything because that, or they contact the cops. Now you have a context of that. Okay, so these tracks probably aren't that new, because I'm going to shut up about that now. I don't want to. I'll be hyper alert about doing that. They look very distorted, so a lot of melt and refreeze. I'm going to stay here by the tree for a minute just to take a break from walking through the. I mean, right now this is livable. You walk over there, it's going to be a foot deep again. A couple of spots where it was crazy. I have to remind myself too that I took the wallet out of my hip pocket and put it over here, because I'm a creature of habit, and when I don't feel something over here, I'm like, oh shit, I lost my wallet with all that shit, including my permit. But no, it's over here in my pocket here, and I can feel it. So, but you go reaching for that. I haven't lost my pocket knife. Losing your pocket knife isn't the same thing as losing your Ruger. That's a problem. That's a larger problem that would ruin my day, because then I have to report it stolen. I guess I'm not going to shut up about it just yet. But anyway, I'm going to get some pictures of this, because you know, like a neat little pattern of ice and snow on the. With the one thing you have up here today with all the ice melting and all that, you have that nice mountain fog thing, which is a nice artistic consideration for photography. I'm going to go down about that far and then probably start looping back up, because when you hit deep spots like this, like I said, you can't just go willy-nilly deep in, because if you actually twist your knee or something, walking out in deep snow like this is going to be a complete bastard of a thing to have to do. Anyway, we're going to get some photography into the nice scene right here. I'll let you soak it up for a minute, and then I am going to take a segment break. And what I don't see this year, there's a beaver lodge over there. If you can see it underneath all the snow, that one over there is a little more visible. There's two of them. Last year, you had them overrun by otters, of all things. First time I've seen otters in here. Not that they're not here, but it's the first time I noticed. There was like a full family of 20 some odd of them. They were like frolicking in the water, having a grand old time doing otter stuff. Not that otters are a threat. They're actually probably cool to run into. They're like nature's cat. It's like an aquatic cat almost in their disposition, but just worth noting, first time I've seen them in here. Anyway, I'm going to take a segment break, like I said, and enjoying a quiet moment here for a moment. Taking in the prettiness of the scene, but you can't tell, but there's a beaver lodge right there under that little lump of snow. That one's more visible. 2 years ago, I saw them overrun. I think it was 2 years ago, with like 30 otters. So I don't know if the beavers got overrun by otters. First time I've ever seen them in here. That being otters. The beavers, obviously, they've been here at some point. But haven't seen them either, for that matter. But I would assume there's some element of fish in here too. Although the few times I've gone fishing in here, I've managed to bother the frog population more than find any fish. But it is a nice out-of-the-way fishing spot for those aware of it. Seems to me like the hunter population seems to know the bog over that way more, because it's covered for moose and the like. Probably duck hunters and such too. I think I've seen ducks in here before. Anyway, I'm going to get going. I'm just kind of like walking off the fact that I almost did something wrong. I'm going to drop that. Change subject matter. Lesson learned now. Anyway, if you listen now, there's a lot less plinking, which I think the majority of the ice, you can still see some up on the trees over there, has succumbed to gravity and the tendency to go down the back of my neck, getting that nice cold chill of water that goes down there. The minute it hits you, it melts, and then you're all cold and whatnot. Anyway, enough banter. We're going to get moving. As far as Bigfoot related fodder today, there's a bobcat spray sign over there, I think. And snow level report right now is midway up my calf. So not as deep as it has. There's a couple of really deep ass spots in here though. Ironically, for like 3 years now, somebody's had a canoe over there by the pond and no one's bothered it. They had like a little, you can see the 4 sticks right there. They had some kind of like a little bushcraft camp out here. Kind of neat. People enjoying Boy Scout skills and likes in the woods. I'm surprised I never got more into that. But one can enjoy starting a fire by way of challenge by rubbing 2 sticks together, or somebody can dump white gas on it and not waste time. As an admission, one thing gives you skill, and I don't disrespect that. I'm not making fun of it. I mean, if you know how to do that, all the power to you. One more thing you're not going to struggle with if you find yourself out overnight in the woods unexpectedly, which has almost happened to me once or twice. You're not going to die, but having the ability to make that your situation of comfort is a little bit better. Anyway, I don't remember anything. This is kind of like the slow season for bigfooting, where I think a lot of people are not. You're not quite into the conference season yet, but you're also. Even the mighty Steve Cole said recently he doesn't like coming out in this shit. I don't know how many other people are for season, but conditions today are admittedly subpar. My waterproof boots are proving to be water resistant-ish, but this snow is like wet. It's like basically ice on the top. It's been melt, refreeze, melt, refreeze, melt, refreeze, so it's basically just wet and crusty, but I'm going to get moving. I'm going to take a segment break again, true to what I said in the beginning, because I kind of have to pay attention to footing. Every step gives you a new depth, so you kind of have to take slow, tentative steps to make sure you know what you're getting into. Look down to make sure you don't lose something a second time. God, that was dumb. Anyway, we're going to get moving, get over that, and move on to other things. Probably a quiet day out here. Looking around, I don't really see any tracks out there. It's either heavy enough that, like I said, squirrels and little chipmunks and voles aren't going to really leave a big dent in shit like this. Deer and moose probably will. What I'm not seeing are critters like raccoons and possum and stuff of that size, because normally once it warms up and you get rid of all this crap on the ground, you see their tracks more often, along with the odd bobcat. Again, with him leaving spray, they're coming through here. I wonder why I don't see his tracks unless he's like staying in the tracks of the moose. I don't know how that works, admittedly. Anyway, again, enough banter. As I stand in knee-deep snow and I actually have stable footing, due to the deep snow, and taking a breather, because walking through this stuff does kind of get you huffing and puffing a little bit. Good workout though. This is about where we're going to wrap this one up. It was a quiet day, and like I said, I didn't expect to see a lot of tracks because smaller game is kind of up against. It's icy, so a little dinky thing like a mouse or a vole isn't going to really do much. A squirrel, arguable, maybe a little telltale dent, but until you're up into bobcat and raccoon size things, I don't think you're going to see any definable tracks. Even tracking to basically the big boys, deer, moose, peoples, things like that. Yeah, Bigfoot if there is one in here. I have heard some weird shit in here before. There's certainly enough habitat for it. There has been weird shit that's happened here though. The infrasonic thing for one. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this one up. Like, subscribe, leave comments, death threats. sarcastic comments, whatever floats your boat. But suggestions if you'd like to see me do something new. Taking that into account, and yell at me for having a certain thing in the wrong pocket. Lesson learned. There is a reason why I have it in my higher pocket in warmer months, because some of my other hiking pants have a loose pocket too. And basically what happened was, this is a loose pocket, and this kind of just, I probably lost my foot and it was enough to jar it loose. But again, of all the things on my person, that's the one thing that really would complicate my day. But lesson learned, and we are going to be on our way back out of this lovely little workout inducing depth of snow, and we will be back at this next week. Hopefully the snow will have melted enough to think about other stuff. I'm actually getting curious what the conditions are like in the neighborhood 2 states to the north of here, because it's been a while since I've been there. Normally in the winter I don't make it up there because it's like deeper than this, and you really can't go anywhere unless you've had snowmobilers come through and you have a snow trail like that you can walk on, because they pack it down more. I'm actually surprised you didn't have that in this year, considering every season they have a no vehicle sign here that gets knocked down by the ATVers who decide the law doesn't apply to them. Separate rant. But anyway, we're going to get going, and as always, thanks for coming along and joining us on this day of, you can literally hear how the ice has fallen off because it's all down out of the trees now. If you look down really close, it's like the entire top of the forest snowfall is now little ice bits. And they're not falling as much anymore because the temperature came up and they all fell down. So I'm going to kind of pound through this and get back and call it a day. So thanks for coming along with me, and until next time, bye.